Hey there, this is Natalie, and welcome to another dive into interesting stories from Reddit. If you like this type of video, please subscribe to the channel for more, and consider taking a look at some of the other videos you can find here. This is a fairly new channel, and I really want to get it monetized. So anytime you spend listening to these wild Reddit stories really helps me out. Now, let's get started. Now here's a fairly fun story entitled, Am I the Butthole for Tricking My Parents into Being on Time for My Wedding? And this one has an update from 2 years later. It was originally posted by user pindry258 to Am I the Butthole and r/AITAH, which are both Am I the Butthole subreddits. So the original post from August 2022 said, My, male 33, parents are late for everything. Like everything. Both of my sisters and myself have been disappointed so many times. Graduation ceremonies, birthday parties, even my father's retirement dinner. It is completely my mother's fault. She's a wonderful mother and I love her dearly. She just doesn't understand the concept of punctuality. I've seen her talking to her sister on the phone and reminded her she needed to be at my baby sister's dance recital. She waved me off and arrived after my sister had danced. We are all used to it. My dad is just done trying to get her to be on time for anything. My now wife, female 28, told me in no uncertain terms that if my mother was late for our wedding, she would do terrible things to me. She was only half joking. But she was a witness to my mum and dad arriving halfway through my cousin's quinceañera. So here is what I did. It is completely on me. My wife was not involved. If there is a dick move, it was completely mine. When we were getting samples for the wedding, I talked to the printer and had one special invitation printed with the time on it stated as being 1 hour earlier than the actual start time of the ceremony. My mother was beside herself apparently when they left the house and thought they were going to miss the wedding since she was a part of it, with her and my mother-in-law lighting the candles we would use to light the unity candle and stuff. When she arrived and noticed other people were also just arriving and parking, she was so relieved that we were starting late, and she just went with it. The ceremony went off beautifully, and so did the wedding pictures and the reception. The problem came last Sunday. My parents came over for a big family dinner, and we didn't bother starting the grill until they showed up. She asked why everyone wasn't eating, and we just said we knew we'd be waiting for them since they're always late. She said that she was not always late, and had been on time for my wedding. She hadn't been. They arrived 45 minutes after the time on their invitation. My idiot cousin John, real name because it's common and he deserves people to know he is adult, snorted at her statement. A few other people giggled or smiled at this and she picked up and asked what was so funny. I came clean about the special invitation. She is pissed at me for not trusting her and making her look foolish in front of everyone. If my cousin had just controlled himself, she would never have known. Am I the butthole? Edit. Part of the reason she's mad is because she had her invitation framed. To be honest, I was already planning a heist with my sisters to replace it with the real one in case she ever noticed the discrepancy between hers and the one we have framed in our home. Edit number 2. Yeah, we are Latinos, and no, I do not in any way consider it racist how many of you guessed that. I have been to Spain and it's an issue there too. And the Philippines. Basically, anywhere those guys were in charge. Edit 3. Stop defending John. He and I have spent 30 years messing with each other. I have an Am I the Butthole story that ends with me getting an offensive tattoo, $5,000 for removal, and him getting a body cavity search at the Mexican border. I would post it, but it happened like 10 years ago. But I think what makes this story worth putting on the channel is the fact that he did cave and tell the story about him and his cousin with the body cavity search and all of that. So let's get on to that. He says, Am I the butthole for causing my cousin to have a body cavity search at the Mexican border? And he begins, Fine, you win. Here is the relevant part of the story. I grew up with my older cousin John. We constantly fight like in a cartoon. I also know I can trust him with my life, and he knows I will always have his back. We do, however, try and mess with each other as much as possible, because it's funny. So he and I went on a vacation to Mexico. Things happened. I got a tattoo. Different story. Anyways, since we have relatives all over, I can always find anything I need. In this particular case, what I needed was some of the substance that cops use to train drug-sniffing dogs. It's not an illegal or controlled substance in Mexico, but the dogs will hit on you if they smell it. So I have to stay in Mexico a few extra days to deal with some of the situation he created. I was kind enough to take him to the border in Tijuana so our other cousin could pick him up on the American side. I was just hoping he would get the shit scared out of him when the drug dogs hit on his luggage. We learned from a young age never to carry anything illegal over international borders because we're almost always selected for screening. I knew for a fact he was clean, just hungover. Anyways, it turns out that when a kid born in a certain South American country carrying a Canadian passport and only a backpack crosses the border and the drug dogs indicate he should be searched, he gets very thoroughly searched. And when they don't find anything, well, let's just look at the title of this post. He thinks I went too far. Am I the butthole? Edit. Yes, I'm fully aware it was overkill. Can I defend my actions? Not really. Taken as a totality of our lives though, I still probably owe him for the stuff he's done to me. Like, a lot. For the record, I did apologise. But now we have that 2 years later update on the situation with the parents. This is entitled, What Happened? He says, my parents have been embarrassed for 2 years now because of how I tricked them into being on time for my wedding. Pretty much every time I see them, they say I was a dick not to trust them. Our church is very busy and full of young people, so lots of weddings, to the point where there are 3 weddings every Saturday all summer long, one at 10, one at noon, and one at 3. Sometimes, but not often, there's also an evening wedding. My little sister just got married. She snagged the noon slot. My mom got super involved in planning the wedding to prove that I'm just an immature asshole. She said that she would be there on time and not miss anything. Side note, I personally hate when people clink glasses to get the bride and groom to kiss. At our wedding, people had to sing a song. My cousin has no shame and sang like 10 times. I think people were bribing him with alcohol. I set up a betting pool for kisses, depending on how late my parents were. It cost $10, and if you guessed within 5 minutes, you got a free pass to make my sister and her husband kiss. Almost everyone bet on time because of the shitstravaganza at my wedding. The correct answer was 25 minutes. Only me, my dick cousin John, and his sister Yvonne got free passes for the kissing, and I bet $100. I was confident. We raised almost $1,500 for the honeymoon with my stupid idea, and I got to interrupt my sisters from eating with my 10 passes. Win-win. Except for my mom, who thinks I did it to embarrass her. She literally helped plan the wedding and was still late, by over half an hour. We were literally cleaning up the decorations in my sister's colours while the next wedding was decorating after us. So that's that. My mom will never change, but I have harnessed her inability to give a crap about punctuality for the good of humanity. See you whenever my littlest sister gets married. Later. Oh, that's a nice fun one. I'm happy to read that one because I'm recording this immediately after recording the very long story about the lady with the homicidal brother, and that one was a bit serious and intense. So a nice bit of family shenanigans is quite a good palate cleanser for me. Though do check out that story if you haven't listened to it yet, it is quite amazing. But what do you guys think of this one? My only disappointment is that he never told the story about the inappropriate tattoo. Now here's a kind of interesting and sweet story, which might seem a little familiar to those of you who've come over from my anime channel and have read Mushoku Tensei. It's entitled, Help, Dog suddenly very attached to wife and won't leave her alone. It was originally posted to r/dogs by user girlfriendhatesme4. And he says, Otis is 3. We adopted him at a year-old from the shelter. He's always been very snuggly, and my wife has always been his human, but recently he's been taking it to another level. Otis is a big black pit bull with docked ears and tail. We adopted him like that. We know he's a giant ball of blubber and love, but other people don't, so we've been very careful to train him not to be scary. Great manners, no jumping or barking, etc. Basically, this is very out of character for him. A week or 2 ago, my wife got some sort of stomach bug. She was really nauseous and ill for about a week. Otis is very in tune with her emotions. Once we got in a fight and she was upset. I swear he was staring daggers at me. And during this time, didn't even want to leave her to go on walks. We thought it was adorable. Well, now my wife is feeling much better, and his attachment hasn't gone away. It seems like he got used to her being home all day for that week and developed separation anxiety. My wife goes to the bathroom, he cries outside the door. She leaves for work. He mopes by the front door until she gets home. And when she gets home, all he wants to do is drape himself all over her. It's getting annoying. Well, 50% of the time it's annoying, 50% of the time it's cute. Then tonight, on their walk through the park, another dog ran up to her and Otis. Lots of people let their dogs run around off leash, even though they're not supposed to. The moment it got near my wife, apparently Otis began to bare his teeth and growl. He has never done this. We're trying to figure out what's going on. If this is the start of an aggression issue, we'd like to nip it in the bud. We'll call the vet tomorrow for a checkup just to make sure he isn't hurting anywhere and manifesting it like that. But mostly we're just confused. I don't know if we're overreacting. We may be. Maybe the growling and the attachment were separate incidents, and there was just something about that one dog he really didn't like. Has anyone else's dog suddenly developed attachment or aggression issues? Any and all advice appreciated, even if it's that we're being paranoid. Then in the relevant comments, ZZBC says, "Any chance your wife is pregnant?" And OP replies, "Oh shit." Then N93S says, "Exactly what I thought. Do a pregnancy test, pal." OP says, "Huh, maybe Otis should parent the kid too, since he's clearly more switched on than either of us." I Don't Believe in Blue says, "Hey OP, just wanted to say I hope the result is whatever you guys want it to be, and if she is pregnant, then give Otis lots of head scratches and tell him he's a very good boy. Actually do that anyway." OP says, "Thanks, it is something we've been trying for a while, which is why I'm kind of kicking myself in the face for not thinking of it. Can't sleep now, lol. Trying not to get my hopes up high until we know. It would be a great story though, if our dog and the internet had to tell us she was expecting." OP edited the same day. Edit, "I have been informed that it's possible my wife is pregnant. She's sleeping now, but I'll tell her and she'll take a test tomorrow morning. Maybe our dog should raise the child too, since he's clearly more switched on than either of our dumb asses are." And the top comments to this say, Shameless says, "It's been 10 hours. Wake her up and pee on a stick. I want to know." And Sean KY says, "The suspense is so real with this one." And then he updated 1 month later to say, "The wifey is pregnant. Otis is still being overprotective, but it all makes sense now. Thanks for all the advice and kind words. Sorry for the delayed reply. I didn't check back until just now." Jan Sipper says, "This wants me to get a dog when I'm trying to get pregnant." Nolan the Blue says, "My family dog started doing this with my mother when she was pregnant. The dog knew before she did." Bad Daku says, "We recently found out my wife is pregnant as well, and my dog would not leave her alone either. She, my dog, has become my wife's shadow. It's so freaking adorable." Oh, I'm really glad that it turned out that it was a pregnancy that they really wanted. Because sometimes dogs can also detect other less pleasant things. You know, there are dogs that have been known to be able to smell when somebody has cancer, for example, which of course is helpful in getting them to get a diagnosis as early as possible, but it's also, you know, it's not exactly delightful news like pregnancy was in this instance. Though I actually have a story of a dog doing something similar to me. When I was 18, my boyfriend at the time had a dog, and he was also quite into training martial arts. And one night we'd been out with some friends, we'd had some drinks, it was coming up for Christmas, and when we got back to his house, he was just showing me some moves that he'd learned. So we were kind of fighting, but it wasn't serious, we were playing around, training. This is something that we did quite often. The dog was just asleep in his bed, and my ex-boyfriend threw me on the floor to demonstrate a move that he'd learned. And the dog, thinking we were having a real fight, ran over to try and protect him and bit me on the face. I had to go to hospital and have stitches, and I've still got scars now, like nothing serious, but I do have a little scar on my forehead left over from that's kind of like a Harry Potter scar. And this was the only time the dog had ever done anything like that. It was a really sweet dog that, in all the time after that, never even barked at anyone aggressively, let alone bit anyone. But the stranger thing was that after that incident, it was like he knew he'd done something wrong specifically to me, and he was sorry. So whenever I was there, he would just follow me around. Like if I went to the bathroom, he'd sit outside and guard it. Even if I was taking a bath and was in there for like an hour, he wouldn't move away from the door, and he would just follow me everywhere. It was just like he was showing his remorse and all that kind of thing. It was really sweet. So I think as well as being able to detect things going on with people physically, they can also kind of read moods and even have a sense of when it's their own kind of doing that somebody is upset or injured. Though I have to admit, I'm still a cat person. But what do you guys think about this story? Would you like to be informed of an imminent arrival to your family by an overly attached pupper? Do you have any stories of pets giving you extra attention when certain things are going on in your life? Let me know down below. That's all for this video, but look out for more coming very soon. Have a great rest of your day or evening out there, and I'll see you next time.